That's why. So ladies, you should understand, like that's why a lot of men won't go to church. A lot of men who are independent thinkers, they see through some of the male pastor manipulation. If with a lot of the churches, you'll see a male pastor with a mostly female congregation. It'll be full of women and old people and children, and a lot of the men are like, I don't need to talk to this guy to access God. I think God is available, and I'm one of those men. So what happens is, this is where the preaching becomes pimping, is when the pastor, and again, I hope I might offend somebody when I say this, but when the pastor's telling the women that you should only date a man who comes to church and gives me money, that's not appropriate. That at that point it's a little bit overbearing, because that's when you get into the dirty churches where you have the pastor who's impregnating all the women in the congregation, or you got the women who just stay single forever because they're waiting on some man that's approved by the pastor. And there's a history. If you study biology, and, I studied this kind of thing when I wrote my book Financial Lovemaking. There's lots of cultures like that around the world where the goal of the men is to control the women, to keep the women almost like a flock, like keep them together. And if you go to Mormon churches, this is white people now. A lot of the traditional Mormons, old school Mormons, where they would have the big polygamous situations or whatever. When the boys and the girls hit about 13 years old, they will run the boys off of the reservation. They get rid of the boys because they don't want that competition. But if the girl tries to leave, what do? They'll go chase the girl down. They'll bring the woman back, but make the boys leave. That's called pimping. That's prostitution's oldest profession in the world. Second oldest is probably pimping. So don't get pimped. That's just my 2 cents. Let me keep going here. Um, Also, I would say that churches that teach depth and not just the constant money thing, are more valuable as well. And so, so are you really growing and things like that as a result of going to church, or just constantly being pressured to give money? Accountability structures. Good churches tend to have boards. They have checks and balances, things like that. If the church doesn't have a board, or if the board just does whatever the pastor says, that's just a governance issue. There's thousands of research papers written in the field of finance about proper governance of an organization, and there's a reason why you have a board. The board represents the interests of the shareholders. In the case of the church, they're representing the interests of the congregation, which are pretty much like the shareholders because they financially support the organization. So that's it. That's it. So if you want to know a couple of things, actually, what I'll do is I'm also gonna I'm gonna quickly go through a list of different things that are sort of psychology tricks that are used by the pastors that are seeking to manipulate people, so you can know to kind of look out for these things. But before I do that, I want to share. I'm going to go back to Instagram. Let's go back to Instagram. Let's have some fun. All right, so here is something I wanted to show you. Let me see if I can find it. Um, okay, here we go. This is kind of funny. I've been kind of serious, so let's laugh a little bit. All right, I'm not as funny as Drew Ski, but I like to laugh. All right, so first off, well, actually, here, let me scoot up. Here we go. This is funny. So somebody sent me this to me. It says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how tired are you of working? So I got this picture of this lady in the pajama taking like Christmas pajama pics with this wrinkly old man, and I think that's kind of funny too, right? Like like it's just like, you ain't supposed to be with that old man.